everybody. Welcome to Webinar Wednesday. My name is Martin Loffers. I'm the Chief Trend Watcher of Supply Chain Media. I'm also the Editor-in-Chief of Supply Chain Movement. That's a European quarterly magazine and also a bi-weekly newsletter. And also a LinkedIn group with over 50,000 supply chain practitioners as member. So right after this, we will start now 60 minutes of a live webinar, and we'll talk about network design. And we have a solution provider, a consultancy firm, and we have an interesting use case to talk about the application of network design. So let's start. So like I said, that's me on the left. Next to me, we have Emily Schutze. She's a senior supply chain consultant at AIMMS. Emily, hi.
Hi, thank you.
Hello. And next we have Stefan Otsotak. He is a supply chain network design director EMEA at Aliaxis. Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon.
And we'll talk about Aliaxis and what they do. That is a customer case we will talk in this hour. And next we have a colleague of his, Felipe Sanchez, and he's a modeler of supply chain network design at Aliaxis. Hi, Felipe.
Hi, good afternoon.
And last but not least, we have Erik Hoving. He's senior consultant at Haskoning. Hi, Erik.
Hello, everyone.
All right. First, before we go ahead talk about network design, some practical stuff. This webinar will be recorded, and the PDF will be made available, and the recording will be made available on YouTube. So the audio is on mute, and as you can see, you can use the chat functionality on the right-hand side. But if you want to interact with us, if you want to ask questions, you see one functionality down below. You see the Q&A text bubbles. So if you have questions to one of us, please use the Q&A function. You can even vote on the other people's questions. If these questions are in line of the conversation I will be having at that moment, I will ask these questions immediately. If not, I will reserve the questions until the end. All right. And after the 60 minutes, if you have more questions or you have a conversation with us, we'll be sitting down in the virtual lounge the 30 minutes after the whole hour. So you can join us if you have some more questions. So as of this moment, we're putting off our camera. So basically, you can enjoy the screens better and can enlarge the slides. So I would also ask our speakers to put off the camera so then the people can enlarge the screen to have a better view on the slides. All right. So next, Emily, can you explain a bit more, AIMMS about the company?
Yes, absolutely. So AIMMS has been using the power of optimization to help businesses make better decisions for over 35 years now. And it's a key focus for us to make optimization easy to use for typical business unit users who don't have to have a background in optimization or mathematics. And we've been very successful in this. We have a lot of loyal long-term customers who are very satisfied with our tools and also with the level of support we give them. And I love this statistic. Every minute, at least one optimization is run using the AIMMS platform.
And you can use it more often than in the past, I would say, with the computational power we're having right now.
Absolutely, yes. So those optimizations are getting cleverer and they're getting bigger as well as getting more frequent.
Yeah. All right. Maybe you can tell us a bit more your kind of customers.
Yes, so you'll see some very well-known logos there across a lot of very different industries. So we're very big in manufacturing. We've got food and beverage companies. We've got pharma companies. We've got retail companies, many well-known names. You'll also see several AIMMS customers who also have a relationship with our consulting partners, Haskoning. So Aliaxis, Knauf, AXA Nobel have been helped by that partnership of AIMMS and Haskoning in the past.
Yeah. And you see also logistics service providers using this kind of tool.
Yes, we do see that. Some of them are using it on behalf of their customers to help their customers optimize their networks. Some of them are using our tools to optimize their internal operations and work out how they can use their own infrastructure to best effect.
Yeah, and of course, some consultancies are using your tool, and Haskoning is one of them. But maybe you can tell me a bit more about the SC Navigator.
Yes, so SC Navigator is our out-of-the-box network design solution. And I would say in network design, there are three main types of questions. So there's the big questions about network structure. So in the long term, in the strategic time frame, where should a company be operating? How much capacity does it need? Where should that capacity be? And when do they need it? And this is where a lot of companies start with network design, and Aliaxis is an example of that. But if you don't want to make those big changes, it's still a very valuable tool to say, this is my network, I don't want to change it, but how can I use my existing infrastructure and my existing assets to best effect, whether that's cost effective, customer service effective, sustainability effective. And again, Aliaxis has some good examples of this that Stefan and Felipe will be talking about. And then the last category, the current world is very uncertain. Risk management is top of mind for many, many businesses, and the sort of what if analysis and contingency planning you can do with a network design tool is very helpful in de-risking your business.
So you can simulate to take out one hub, and then you can see, okay, what would it mean for your current network?
Absolutely. Or you can simulate what if the tariffs into the US change next month. What would that mean for your business? Lots of different risks that you can model in such a tool.
And what I also discussed in the previous webinar we had last year with you is also that companies are, extending their network, not only, modeling their own network, but also network from the suppliers or from distributors.
Yep, absolutely. Looking at what are the best suppliers to use is a good use case. And if you have that relationship with your suppliers, you can maybe look even further at where their suppliers are and what risks you're exposed to through your extended network.
Yeah. So maybe you can explain a bit more what first-time buyers are doing with your tool.
Absolutely. So I mentioned already that ease of use is a big focus for us. We think it's very important to design our tools so that people who don't have experience in network design find it easy to get up to speed. You might have complex business problems, but we don't need to make the software complex to use when you're answering those problems. So we've put a lot of focus on making our user interface easy to use and intuitive, and making our data model very natural for a supply chain professional to pick up and understand. And that remains a focus for us in all the development we're doing. And that helps getting a really good speed to value. But it's not just about the technology, it's about getting the right support. So we try and make a personal connection with all of our customers and focus on supporting them and giving them what they need. And that includes having the right training materials, having an understanding of their use case, having a dedicated support desk, and also having an ecosystem of partners who can help them get up to speed. And I have to say, Haskoning is a really good example with an excellent track record of not just doing a project and giving the answers, but making sure that our customers become self-sufficient really quickly.
All right, and Eric, talking about Haskoning, maybe you can explain a bit more about the background of your company.
Yes, thank you, Martijn. So yeah, Haskoning is from origin an engineering company, but also offering consultancy. And I'm with around 80 to 100 experts, part of the supply chain and logistics consultancy team, formerly known as Districon. And we are already a partner for with AIMMS for over 12 years. So a lot of expertise in network design. And since the introduction of SC Navigator, we are also actively trying to support customers in their journey to be indeed self-sufficient, that they don't have to rely on us to doing executing projects, but that they can do it themselves. And we try to enable them. And that's Also what I will tell you in the next couple of slides.
Yes.
So the supply chain and logistics consultancy team is also operating from 3 continents. So the headquarters are in Europe, in Netherlands, but we also have an office in Chicago and in Asia. And also for the Aliaxis case, we work together in a project for the European brand, of which Stefan and Felipe are part of, but we also executed a project for their IPEX brand in the US, and the US team was involved.
Yeah, on this slide you see also energy transition, and that might be a sideshow for supply chain practitioners, but in the Netherlands and also in other countries around us, you see the scarcity of electricity connections. That's also a new kind of bottleneck when you are looking for new locations and setting up your network. So
Yeah,
I know
indeed.
that, yes. All right. Maybe you can tell us a bit more about, you mentioned you have been project leader of the Aliaxis case as a project leader, but maybe you can tell us a bit more about your approach.
Yeah, so in network design, we have our, I would say proven approach, and that consists of 4 steps. So we start analyzing the current situation. And from there, we try to build a base case, which is actually a kind of a digital twin, which is a little bit of a hybrid. I'm aware of that. But it enables the customer to see and also check if the cost modeling is in line with what they see in their financial administration as well. And from the base case, we make simulations, optimizations, creating scenarios, creating insights for the customer on what direction should we move towards the future to get a robust but also cost optimal network into the future. And then the final step in the project we execute is the support the decision making. Also, the focus in the network design is typically on the operational costs, but we also include the qualitative aspects, which you cannot always cover in a modeling exercise, and also the investments, which are sometimes hard to translate to annual cost components. So that's the part of the final step, that we also take it outside of the model, but also do the human judgment. And this stepwise approach, we try to bring and also train the customer not only to use the tool, that's the software from AIMMS SC Navigator, but also how to run a project. And that's, I think, reflected in also the next slide that we can share. And that in the start, if we have a new customer, new to SC Navigator, new to network design, we initially take the lead, and then we execute the project and train the customer on how we do it. We involve them in the projects, how to populate the template, how to do the scenario comparisons, etc. So that in the next step, they can actually take the lead themselves or in a cooperative mode, but really from the early steps where we say crawl, and then the next step they walk, and finally they can run. And I hope Stefan and Felipe will also reflect on how this process worked out for them. But I'm happy also to see in the audience that Aliaxis, which is here, was also one of the customers that we really enabled to build their competence center. And Aliaxis is also a good example that they are running their own projects, and then in the final steps we are more offering the support. So whenever they encounter a problem, have an issue with the supply chain navigator, or how to approach a certain business case, they can always come back to us, and we have the experience, the expertise to help them out in most cases.
So Eric, before we move on to Aliaxis, I was wondering, what is the hardest part to, you mentioned ABCD in the previous slide. What is the hardest part you think when you encounter this kind of project?
Well, typically the data part, so the first step is really hard to get a representative a digital twin of your current network, which allows you to do the simulations and get the relevant insights. you often see that if you think you're there and you have a digital twin, but whenever you run a scenario, you think, oh, maybe we need to make a change also to the setup we choose at the start. So sometimes you also have to take a step back, but especially the data collection and also the automation of that flow. You can spend a lot of time, but also you can quickly move through that phase and then add a more automation later. So that's it's not a blocking thing, but it is a challenging part to get proper data in a model to also get that relevant answers to the business questions.
So yeah, we'll talk about it with Aliaxis in depth about that. Final question here, how many companies do have a supply chain center of excellence? You mentioned here at the right-hand side.
Well, these are the most recent reference cases. So I would say a lot of big companies have a competence center, maybe not only focusing on network design, but and then they have a logistics, a projects team, internal consultants, basically that also do network design. So I know Heineken, we work together with. So I think a lot of global companies, so I cannot count them, but I would say plenty.
Yeah, all right. Okay, next we go to Aliaxis. So Stefan, maybe you can explain Aliaxis, what kind of company it is, and then we get into the network design project.
Yeah, sure. Okay, here, well, basically, as a starting point, Aliaxis is the world's largest plastic pipe manufacturer. So obviously, we have our focus on the customer. We provide safe and sustainable solutions, and we serve those solutions in 4 segments, which what we call building, infrastructure, industry, and into the agricultural segments.
All right. Maybe a bit more about some data and some figures about Aliaxis.
Exactly. Thanks, Martijn. So basically, if we look then, as I said, Aliaxis, we are a company operating worldwide with 16,000 people. Our biggest sector in terms of people is EMEA, yeah? And in EMEA, as you can see it here already, we have 4,500 colleagues. We speak more than 16 languages. We are present in more than 20 countries. Our headquarters is in Brussels. And you will see that in a second on the next slide. We do have a lot of sites. I will explain on the next slide why this is the case and why this is our current footprint. We also have 3 research centers where we do for each individual segment, we do the research there. And just to give you a flavor, our revenue in 2024 was approximately 900 million. And you can also see, as I said, if we take the 3 segments, because industry and agriculture is one for us, you see predominantly we do our business in the building and sanitary market, which is everything you can find in your household. So basically fresh water, wastewater system, sewage, waste traps, all that kind of topics. In the infrastructure business, we are predominantly, for example, in our electrofusion business. Electrofusion couplers is a product you will find buried 1 meter below the streets, where what we use for gas and for water pipelines. And last but not least, we have industry and agriculture. Industry either used, and I've seen it on your slide, Emily, as well. One of your customers is also a customer of us. BASF, for example, they use our products in their chemical plants. Plus, a typical use case is in public swimming pools. You can also find our products for industry and agriculture.
And maybe, to explain, you mentioned 21 manufacturing and distribution sites and also 5 distribution centers. This picture says a lot. Maybe you can explain your map.
Yes. Well, obviously, I think first thing what I need to explain, that is a huge number of manufacturing and distribution sites we have in Europe. But I think I need to explain a bit the history of Aliaxis. Aliaxis was a kind of a financial holdings in the past. So predominantly, I would say 15 years ago or something, it all started as I said, a financial holding where the individual sites and the local brands had full autonomy. However, over time, it went more and more into a group of companies with more and more direction from the headquarters, more decision-making power. in the headquarter, and leading to the fact lately we have a full functional model now in place where all of our functions like sales, marketing, supply chain, manufacturing, they are all steered more or less from central functions. However, since we've bought all of those companies, what you see here on the map, because all of those little dots are actually where individual sites, individual brands even, and when we've bought them, they had the full autonomy, and some of them had also sub-sites, some sub-companies. However, it was never optimized in a way. And this is, Martijn, while the footprint looks as it looks, and this is obviously, this was also our motivation. So we said we need a network modeling capability, a network modeling function, because as you can see, this is not how Aliaxis thinks our footprint should look like for the future.
No. But you know, being in the building and infrastructure environment, you still have to be close to your customers, so that will remains.
Exactly, Martijn, 100% correct. Normally we say a pipe is not traveling in good conditions more than 500 to 600 kilometers, because then freight costs are getting so expensive. It doesn't make sense to transport pipes, for example, longer than that. And as you can imagine, when I explained a bit about our product portfolio, pipe and long goods is a vital part of that product spectrum.
Okay, clear. So you know, this is how your network looks like, you know, and maybe you can tell a bit more about you know, the supply chain modeling.
Yes. If we go to the next slide, super. Here you can see, well, basically we said, oh, no, sorry, one back, please.
Yeah.
I think it,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you. So basically, when you see it on that slide here, so basically we thought, okay, and also Eric said it before, when we have the luxury of having our own modeling team, we said, okay, what do we do with that modeling team? So because simply said, it's not only network design, it's also, we said, you know what, we can also use it for operational topics, for example. So starting from the top to the bottom. So what we normally do in operational topics where we speak about transport and procurement, I put a use case on the slide. Sorry for that, it's a bit small. I hope you can read it. But basically, let's say one of the typical use cases is we buy something today from a supplier, we buy DDP, so transport included. And the question would be then, would it make sense if we buy it X works from a supplier, organized to transport by ourselves? Is there a cost advantage, and can we use our own suppliers in terms of transportation? Can we use them more cost effective, and can we combine it with some other topics to reduce the costs here? One of the examples for operational topics. Then route to market. We quite often have our product stored in multiple locations. So the question is here, can we store it, for example, centrally, use a kind of direct shipment model from this warehouse to the end customers? And this is also then where we use the different functions of the AIMMS tool, like we do model the center of gravity, we take into account our service level agreements with the customer, obviously all kind of cost factors from distribution fixed to variable cost, the transport rate from our providers, plus obviously what about the stock holding cost? Because obviously stock holding cost is a vital part of the full equation. You know, we have millions of stock, as you can imagine. With our footprint, we have millions of stock sitting somewhere, and normally you always have it on the side where it should not be, and it's kind of Murphy's law. It's always on the wrong end of the chain. So this is how we use it to optimize our stock footprint as well. Then next one would be the make or buy choice. And this is apparently, I mean, not so complicated to explain. We have a look on a certain product or even a product range and say, okay, we are currently buying it outside. Can we produce it internally or vice versa? Are there any advantages for our customers? Can we get it faster? Are we more agile with that? What about the cost factors? What about our carbon footprint when changing it from external to in-house? So these are all the questions we discuss in there. And last but not least, in the network design, obviously, what is the main What is the main focus of it? This is where we build, as Eric explained, kind of a digital twin of our network, and we can model all kind of decisions there to really understand what will be the sites of the future, where do we invest, and how will our footprint look like in 5, 6, 7 years.
So if I look at the pyramid, on the top, so what is the frequency of usage on that level, and what is the frequency of usage at the bottom?
Well, obviously on top, network design, you do not change it every second month. So this is obviously something more mid to long term. So every 6 and 12 months, we have a look on that. For all the topics which are down below, so from make or buy, route to market, operation topic, what we have in place, we have installed a so-called sourcing board as part of our IBP process. And within that sourcing board, we have regular touch points once a month where we discuss those individual projects, and the projects run times, they're rather different. Obviously, operational topics like modeling a simple DDP X works question is a matter of days. While we run with a make or buy study or route to market study, this can take us a month to 2 months to get everything together, and then obviously another couple of months to implement.
Right. And the bottom side, the operational topic is probably on an almost daily basis, I expect.
Exactly. This is something where obviously we discuss it in our monthly touch points as well. However, from modeling time and from a decision-making time, this is rather quick. This can be done within a week normally.
Okay. And maybe we can tell a bit more about your modeling skills.
Yes. Maybe we can also go to the next slide. Yeah, thank you. And here you can see actually, so this is, I think it jumps all the time. Yes, thank you. So basically, so why have we decided to do that internally? Because obviously you heard it from Eric, there's also some super capable external partners outside. However, I need to say we did a similar exercise already back in 2017. And in 2017, in our first attempt, we did a full external solution. However, it turned out, well, we were rather agile enough, nor we were flexible. We could also not scale it. And to the cost, I will come in a second. So what does it mean? When we did it externally, well, obviously we find out we didn't have the internal capability to tweak, to use it. And sometimes, you have a certain case, you have a certain model, what you would just like to tweak a bit or with a minor change, you can model something completely different. However, this is not a vital change to the model. However, turned out, as we didn't have the internal resources and the capability to do so, we always needed to go external, which is from an agility point of view, we always relied on the external partner, on their availability, also in terms of flexibility. As you know, some of the especially when you think about the pyramid from the last slide again, especially the operational topics, those topics cannot wait for weeks. Yeah. So sometimes we're just not able to answer something fast enough. And of course, this also hindered us to scale it to a certain level, because what we also found out, and Eric explained it in the beginning a bit, Aliaxis is operating worldwide, and between our big regions, so North America, EMEA, APAC, we have the same questions basically everywhere. However, with just having an external partner, we were also not able to scale that. Now we have a kind of a best practice exchange between our Center of Excellence team for modeling. We have actually 2 resources for the time being, one in North America, one in EMEA. And I think this was really a kind of a game changer to have those local specialists and to work together, to do a kind of a copy and paste of the best practice. And last but not least, if I refer to the cost point of view, well, yes, there is a certain startup investment for the resource, the training and so on. However, you can do the changes much quicker because obviously our internal resource, we are much more close to the business. There's a much better understanding how to get the data out of the systems. So I think also cost-wise, this is really a game changer to have it internally.
So Eric mentioned already at the beginning, that the data is a huge challenge. And as you mentioned, Aliaxis is consists of a lot of acquisitions, probably a lot of different kind of ERP systems. So maybe you can tell us a bit more about what is needed to get the digital twin.
Yes, you're totally right. Quality of data is really a topic. So basically, this is also, I explained it. I explained it before. We did a similar exercise back in 2017, and in all truth, we failed with that exercise. And why was that? Well, first of all, from an organizational point, we were not mature enough. But secondly, also from a data quality point of view, we were not mature enough. So what does it mean? Exactly as you said, Martijn, we had tons of different ERP systems. Basically, every site had their own ERP system. So it took us months to get all data out of the various system. And while you were ready with the extract from the last site, you could already restart with the first site because extract took us so long and we had outdated data already when we wanted to start modeling. So we quickly figured out this is not the way it can work. Therefore, we build a kind of a data lake which gets fed from all the different ERP systems, TMS systems, APS systems. So all the systems are connected to the data lake, and we feed the data lake with all of the outputs of those different systems. This helps us to get data rather quickly from all of our entities in a kind of a harmonized way. Plus, and this was also not available a couple of years before, we installed kind of a UPN, so a unified product number. And with that UPN, we can also follow an SKU traveling through the network. Because obviously, as you can imagine, while we do our intercompany business, so sometimes an item might be produced in, let's say, Germany, is then sent to France, stored there in a local warehouse for our end customers with a different number, and then sold to the end customers with the number or with the product code of the end customer. So apparently in that chain, you have quite often 3 to 4 different item codes. And when you don't have the visibility, you will certainly lose track of the SKU. And we have more than 250,000 of SKUs, without EMEA. So you can imagine it's quite crucial to have that visibility on the SKUs. However, also here, and this refers to the black box below, even if data quality is an absolute requirement from our point of view to have that, do also not underestimate the need to qualify the internal resources. AIMMS is a super powerful tool. It helps you a lot to get even the most complex network and footprint in a modeling scenario, which can give you vital hints and vital recommendations for your future footprint. However, it requires a bit of time to get there. And this is, Eric, where I really like your crawl, walk, run picture, because this is exactly what we used here. And I think Felipe will also explain a bit on that on the more practical case in a second. However, I really think it was a game changer to have Haskoning next to us, helping us with getting ready, with getting prepared. Also, obviously, AIMMS helps you a lot in the beginning. However, when you do your first steps, we found it very beneficial to have somebody close to us, helping us get training, get all the details. And I think the first time, Felipe, when you did the European distribution model, our digital twin together with Haskoning, I think it would have taken us ages. And together with Haskoning, we were able to get it in 3 months. We had the first version. Obviously, what has taken us 3 to 4 months in the beginning, now I think Felipe can update it at a much faster speed. Now we can have even simple models. We can have within a week. Obviously, a more complex model might still take us a couple of weeks, but obviously we gained a lot more speed with that approach.
Felipe will get in deeper in the whole project and what is needed and which steps you have been taken. But maybe you can tell us a bit, what you have achieved so far.
Yep. So basically, what's now the outcome? What have we achieved with using that partnership with Haskoning and with AIMMS? So first of all, our decision making is much more scenario based now. Whenever we have a bigger decision or even smaller decision, as you have seen on the operational topics, we normally have all the time 2 to 3 different options on the table, and then we can pick the best option from various angles. So meaning we are integrating from customer satisfaction over cost, and also lately the sustainability topic gets also more and more important for our customers. So this is in the beginning, for example, in the first model, we didn't have sustainability integrated, but now in the next iteration of our digital twin, we put sustainability also as a decision-making factor in. So it's not only cost, but we also look on our CO2 footprint and how it evolves in the different potential network designs. And last but not least, we get much more speed on operational topics. So what didn't work out at all with our first attempt in 2017 is really now, if there's an urgency coming up, we are able to decide within days if we go left or right.
Yeah, I was wondering, a lot of times when you buy software, you have a conversation about return on investment. Did you have this kind of conversation when you decided to choose AIMMS, or what kind of discussion do you have on this matter of investing in this kind of tooling?
Well, I can tell you the potential savings we have identified with the usage of AIMMS is outperforming the cost on a massive scale. I mean, obviously, especially talking about network projects, not all of the projects are coming overnight. Some of them are quite long lasting. Some of them have severe impact. So all of those decisions are taken carefully and not lightweighted. However, in our internal calculations, it was very beneficial to go with the model, even obviously in the beginning with the support of Haskoning, which is obviously for sure and clear, which is a cost factor in the beginning. However, this helps you really to get much more speed in the process, and this was really very beneficial to the full case.
Yeah, if I look at the middle, I think that the world has been changing, and you see lead times are varying more and more and more. Companies are asking for, scope 3 kind of data. I think, with this kind of tooling, you can also explain to your customer what are the alternatives to be serviced from any location. So I can imagine that from the customer side, demand is also getting higher in the sense, where are you sourcing me from? What does it mean for the CO2 emission footprint, that kind of stuff?
You know what, Martin? We are just preparing, and this is a bit for more for the outlook for us as well. We are preparing now something, to approach our customers proactively and tell them, look, instead of ordering 4 or 5 times a week, if you reduce it to 3 or 2 times, this would be the change to your CO2 footprint. This is the CO2 footprint. This is the tons of CO2 you can save with that changed ordering behavior. And from our point of view, this is a clear win-win situation for our customers and us as well.
Yeah, I can imagine that, that this is very powerful also to your customers.
Yep.
All right. Felipe, can you lead us through the different steps in the project, and then we'll get also deeper into what is needed to get there.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Martijn. Let me start by saying that this is how a normal project looks like when we do it from the scratch. So it's pretty much related to the ABCD process that Eric was showing us before. So there is a lot of boxes. The blue boxes are related to getting the data. Then with this data, we need to model all that information, all the transport, all the distribution, all the variable to be able to create a model out of that. And then in the green boxes, what we find is to create the base case and create the baseline for be able to finally go to the purple boxes where we can create different scenarios and test different scenarios and go to the decision-making process. So the good news here is that from our first exercise with Haskoning, we can reuse most of the information that we gathered there because we were able to create a digital twin for the whole EMEA region. Therefore, all the model, the transport model that we have created there, all the data that we gather in that step, all the distribution and information also can be reused. Therefore, in this timeline that is, it looks like linear, but actually the first boxes, I would say blue, yellow, and green, are the ones that take more effort and more time to be prepared. So we can skip a big part of the process, reuse the model and reuse all the information and go directly to the scenario modeling.
Okay.
So that's the big benefit that we find here.
Yeah, maybe, because we talked about data gathering, maybe you can explain a bit more where you get your data from, what kind of systems are you using for?
Yeah, thank you, Martin. Yeah, actually, we are, and this is also quite new because before, as Stefan mentioned, we were like scatter, all the information was scattered across different sites. Now we have something that we call GDP. So that's meaning for global data platform. That's where is the data lake located. So we can use this source, and even today, depending on the level of information that we want, we need to use that information, or we use the information that we use in the previous exercises as well. Also use information directly from the TMS, from ERP, and other sources. And it's always important to validate this information, even though we have, already discussed and shared this information with the colleagues. I think it's important also because today, depending on the exercise that we are doing, we incorporate new information in the model, we update information in the template. Therefore, it's important to keep involved all the team in the process.
Yeah, and we've been talking about a digital twin, and AIMMS is supporting that, but maybe you can highlight, what kind of data is in this kind of digital twin.
Yeah, this is quite overwhelming, and in fact, it's on purpose because at the end, this is what I saw the first time I saw the AIMMS template, and that's why Haskoning was so important at the beginning of the process, because when we saw all this information and all these functionalities, and there are many ways to do the same model or to represent the same, maybe the same cost or something, then it's important to be able to choose and to have the knowledge to choose how to do every model and how to populate the template. And one of the most important parts is, of course, to be able to read the template and how to use the template. And it's still I would say it's still a learning process. I think there are a lot of functionalities that we are still learning how to do it and how to incorporate in our model as CO2 emissions and custom objectives and so on.
Maybe Emily, look at this. This is quite overwhelming indeed. What kind of data points are regular you've been using in your project, Emily?
So I'd say the essential ones are knowing the demand, knowing where your customers are, what products they're asking for, and knowing where you can serve them from. So it's your customers, your products, your warehouses, and something about how they travel. So transport costs. Those would be the essentials that every model has to have. A lot of the rest is optional, doesn't have to be used in every business question, but it's available to help you refine the things that are specific and special about your organization.
Okay, clear. Felipe, we've been talking about digital twins, and you can have digital twin on a factory level, warehouse level, on a higher level, network level. Maybe you can explain what kind of levels of digital twins you have and what you're using.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things that we have learned in the process is to create a digital twin to create a digital twin only for the part of or for answering just the question that is made, not to, for example, to use all the EMEA digital twin for answering maybe a smaller question. Therefore, it's important to create the baseline just for answering the strategic question that has been asked. And at that point, when we have the baseline, and maybe we do not need to map every single product in the map, or maybe we do not need to map all the suppliers, maybe just a part of it, then we can move forward to create different scenarios and compare with this baseline that we have created.
Yeah, clear. And Eric, I can imagine if you look at this kind of visualization, these maps on the right hand side, supply chain people can feel quite luxury to have this visual overviews, and they can ask all kind of what if questions. Is it something you have to be tempering your customers to say, okay, don't use this for all kind of reasons?
Well, actually, I get myself always enthusiastic about these kind of maps. So that's not my first response to the customer. So please use this to envision the future and to get a lot of great ideas. But especially focusing on strategic and tactical questions. So not really on operational things. So if you would like for something for tomorrow, then these kind of pictures, then maybe I temper the enthusiasm a little bit. But yeah, I think the tooling allows you to dream on how the future should look like, also to gather insights. What if it would be a new company in our field? How would we then arrange a new network? And how can we use those insights to move from our current situation to a realistic future setup? Because being a new company is not realistic. But I think this actually allows you to dream big and then switch to be realistic. Yeah. So actually, not too much tempering on first hand, I would say.
Oh, okay. And Stefan, being more on the business leader environment, does these kind of maps help you also to have better conversations with your commercial colleagues, where to grow and what's hampering growth, or what are the bottlenecks?
Yes, absolutely. So normally, obviously, we normally say we need to have a kind of a management style presentations, and obviously a picture says more than 1,000 words, especially when you have complicated cases. Showing the pictures helps always to understand, okay, what's the magnitude we are talking about? So how many customers do we have? From where do we ship it to what? Especially normally we have it like the top left one where you have we have real and digital. Normally we have an as is, a kind of a baseline, and then we show the to be, which give our managers and obviously the commercial teams quite often a very quick understanding. Okay, this is what we have today, what will change for the future, and what's the potential impact. I think this does help us a lot.
And I can also imagine, looking at the European market, the building market, has been slowing down, and but there's relatively high need for new buildings and new homes, etc. That also will have a strategic impact in your conversations. Where do you expect that these market will grow and get ready for the future to build new homes, and that can also help you differently?
Well, absolutely. And there's a second factor. Obviously, growth is in the current market environment, growth is really limited. So there's even more focus on getting your internal house clear, so to say. So obviously we try to optimize now every single bit, and I still think also in 2026 the building market will be very, very tough. We see first weak signs that it might get a bit better, but to be honest, we only await a bigger relief in 2027. So 2026 will be another tough year from our point of view.
All right. And Philippe, maybe you can explain a bit more about scenarios and how to run these.
Yeah, I think last but not least, I think is the fun part of running a scenario. So in the digital twin part, what we have is the baseline. Now what we can do is to change parameters, change the inputs, such as change locations for warehouse, change demand, include growth, or include other constraints in the warehouse throughput, for example. Or therefore at the end it's about to represent here all the different scenarios that we want to test as the to be scenarios and compare with the assist right now. Can also be done using a control panel that is quite, actually, I want to remark that it is quite helpful to have this functionality in AIMMS that allow us to easily change or relax part of the constraints that we have in the model Or the other part that is also important is the ability to, or the capability to have the software to combine different scenarios. And I think that's all from my side.
All right. And Emily, you know, looking at the middle, you see all kind of overlapping scenarios. Can you explain it, how to use it, and in which circumstances is it useful to have different kind of overlapping scenarios and for decision making?
Yeah, so that's especially useful if you're doing any kind of sensitivity analysis. So if you have an optimistic, a pessimistic, and a most likely scenario, then you might want to combine that with changing other parameters like how many DCs you want or what your transport costs are. And SC Navigator allows you to configure all those instructions separately and then combine them into lots of different scenarios. So you can have, I want 10, 15, 20 DCs combined with your 3 demand forecasts, or with 3 different possible outcomes for transport costs very quickly and easily.
I don't know if it's in there because, you know, in Western Europe, you see more and more zero emission zones coming in the largest cities. I can imagine that it's also something you have to be aware of. How can we distribute into certain cities?
Yes, absolutely. So the tool allows you to model carbon emissions. It allows you to either optimize for cost and measure the carbon emissions, or it allows you to optimize for carbon emissions, and you can put constraints on how many carbon emissions you have, either across your entire network or subdividing into locations.
Yeah, I see, you know, the control panel on the right hand side. I can imagine you have your default setup as a user, but then you can as a user you can change it to your likings for your daily usage. Or how do you use this kind of control panel?
Yeah, normally we used to relax some constraints such as lead time or warehouse capacity, for example, are quite often. So yeah, I think it's about having, yeah, we have our default setup, but at the end we can test very quickly how would the supply chain, or what the outcome would change if we change or we relax one of the constraints.
Yeah. All right. To wrap up, you know, one of the few slides we go before we get into the Q&A. Emily, can you tell us a bit more about the SC Navigator for the near future?
Yes, absolutely. So we like to make our roadmap for SC Navigator very customer driven. So we consult a lot with our customers and we get their feedback. Aliaxis is just one of many examples of customers who are engaging with us, giving their feedback, making feature suggestions. And these are the broad themes that we hear as most important from our customers. So go beyond. We hear from our customers that the optimization bit of our tool has been made very easy to use already. But as you heard from Aliaxis, the part before you get in the tool, finding the right data, getting it in the right format is a struggle. And sometimes telling the story after you've done the optimization can be difficult. So we are working on providing technology to make both of those parts easier. We think AI has a very big role to play in improving productivity in network design. So both the data initiatives and the scenario comparison initiatives will use a lot of AI functionality to make them easier. And we'll also be embedding it in the optimization tool as well to automate some of the repetitive tasks to do with changing data or creating scenarios. Ease of use remains our primary focus, and we have been adding a lot of functionality. We continue to add functionality, and it's important to focus on making it easy to find the functionality you want quickly, even though it's such a powerful tool. And one initiative I'm very excited about, we will be embedding some benchmark transport data from our partner CLX into SC Navigator. So that will lower the barrier to entry for new customers. Less work to do finding the transport data. You can start already with benchmark data to explore opening new transport lanes, serving new markets. And always uncertainty and robustness is the topic on people's minds. So already scenario analysis, what if analysis is very powerful, but we want to add tools to let you optimize against a range of possible outcomes, not just one.
And I know that you have been piloting with a colleague, with Zoe, your colleague, that also external data, how we can, use it for risk assessments for your network. So that's also something you are piloting, I think.
Absolutely, yes.
And also, what I've seen that, you mentioned here on the left, ask AI your business question. So do you have a chatbot inside your environment already, or how should I see this?
Yes, we've already got a chatbot inside SC Navigator. Right now, that chatbot is conditioned only on our documentation, so it doesn't see any of your company's data. It looks at our documentation and gives you advice on how to make a good SC Navigator model. What we are working on is letting it actually start looking at your data, giving you advice based on your model, not just general advice, and start making changes, start running scenarios, and eventually, as you said, looking at external data and giving you advice on what scenarios you should be running based on the trends it sees out there in the world.
So Eric, within Haskoning and previously with Disticon, you have been working with AIMMS for, I think, 12 years or over 12 years. If you look at the SC Navigator right now, what is your take? So how have things changed, and what do you expect from this for your consultancy business?
Well, 12 years is a long period. So if I look back then, network design, in the past, we always had to develop our own tools. So the AIMMS software as a modeling platform was always there. But it took a lot more time to build a model and then analyze the business questions. So I think SC Navigator allows us to do projects within 3 months, answer business questions. So I think it reduced the throughput and the response time internally for customers as well. By 2 or 3 times. I think, and that's the big benefit of the SC Navigator as a platform.
Before we get to the question, Felipe, what do you want from AIMMS in the development for the near future? What would you like to see AIMMS developing next month or next year?
Yeah, for me, the part that AI can help with the modeling and can be able to suggest different modeling options for transportation and for different parts of the template sounds fantastic. So when I hear Emily talking about that, I get mostly pretty much excited to hear about that.
All right. So we get to the question. So I see questions here coming in. So one of the questions, how will the cost implications be known through each scenario? Emily, maybe you can take that.
Yes, so SC Navigator takes in costs across all aspects of the supply chain, so from supplier through production, warehouse, transport, customer. It optimizes the route to market given those costs, and then it presents them back in that structure, so you can compare 4 scenarios how the costs in different buckets change. And we also offer a powerful end-to-end report, so you can see every single product and customer, the route taken to get to that customer and the costs incurred along the way.
Okay. To wrap up, I have a final question to Stefan. A lot of companies like these kind of tools, and especially supply chain professionals like maps and network design kind of tooling. So Stefan, what is your advice? How to sell it to your directors, to your board, to get this kind of tooling? So what is your call to sell it to internally?
Well, first and foremost, I can just speak out of my experience. However, I would say, Martijn, yes, you need a startup investment. Yes, you need some dedicated resources. And yes, you need, of course, also spend some time in the beginning. However, after really trying, two options, and I tried the one where you are 100% depending on an external party, not having a tool by yourself, plus the internal solution. And I can only tell you, it really makes a difference in terms of speed, agility, even outcome, because we all know our world gets more and more crazy, more and more volatile. And I think, you know, having such a possibility inside, you will always be ahead of the game when dealing it completely 100% outsourced. This is really my point of view on that.
I think, you know, yeah, if you have a lot of competition and a lot of pressures, you need some answers, and you have to give it to the board, you know, better alternatives and better scenarios, where to grow and where to be resilient. Thanks for now. So I have another questions and coming in, but I think I expect about new features of requests, that kind of stuff. I would suggest John Russell, please join us right after this, because this is quite specific, probably to Emily. So right after this, that we will be there up to 30 minutes to have some extra conversations. And there's more to read. There's a tech list we have created together with AIMMS by supply chain movement, how to choose the right network design tooling on a general sense, not just go for AIMMS. There's also a demo of SC Navigator, how to see how it looks like and how to use it. And there's a Aliaxis case on site with the website of AIMMS. So there's more over there. With that, I would like to thank the participants. Stefan, thank you for joining. And also Felipe, thanks for joining, and Eric and Emily. So thank you for joining us. And the audience, thank you for joining us live or in the recording. And I would say, you know, if you have more questions, please join us in the virtual lounge right after this. If not, I hope to see you someday again in another webinar. I would say thanks for now and bye-bye.